Welcome back, philosophers. Today we're exploring the life and writings of Jürgen Habermas, a German philosopher whose ideas have left a profound mark on how we understand communication, democracy, and society. Habermas's work is surprisingly grounded, and I'll walk you through it like we're having a chat over coffee. Let's start with who Jürgen Habermas is. Born in 1929 in Düsseldorf, Germany, Habermas grew up in a world scarred by the horrors of World War II. He was a teenager during the Nazi regime, and the shadow of that era shaped his lifelong obsession with how societies can function justly and rationally. He's still with us, by the way, a towering figure in modern philosophy, often called the last great thinker of the Frankfurt School, a group of intellectuals who blended Marxism, psychology, and sociology to critique modern society. But Habermas isn't just some tweedy academic. His ideas are about the conversations we have every day, from debates on social media to how we vote. Habermas's big idea is something called communicative action. Now that sounds jargony, but stick with me, it's simpler than it seems. Imagine you're at a family dinner and everyone's arguing about politics. Things get heated, but then someone says, "Okay, let's talk this through calmly." That moment, when you try to understand each other through honest, open dialogue, is what Habermas is all about. He believes that communication, when it's done right, is the key to a better society. Not shouting matches or power plays, but real conversations where people listen, reason, and aim for mutual understanding. Here's the core of communicative action. When we talk, we're not just throwing words around. We're making claims about what's true, what's right, or what we feel. For example, if I say, "Free speech is key for a functioning democracy," I'm not just stating a fact, I'm inviting you to agree, debate, or challenge me based on evidence and reason. Habermas says that for communication to work, it has to be free from domination. No one bullying or manipulating anyone else. It's about creating a space where everyone's voice matters, whether you're a politician or a barista. This idea feels especially relevant today, when online debates can feel like a war zone of bad faith and misinformation. Let's zoom out a bit. Habermas developed these ideas in his magnum opus, The Theory of Communicative Action, published in the early 1980s. It's a hefty 2-volume work, but don't worry, you don't need to read it to get the gist. He argues that modern society has two spheres, the life world and the system. The life world is the everyday stuff, our culture, values, the way we talk to friends or raise kids. It's where we connect as humans. The system, on the other hand, is the cold, hard machinery of society. Think bureaucracies, corporations, or legal systems. Habermas worries that the system is taking over the life world, turning us into cogs in a machine where money and power drown out meaningful human connection. Sound familiar? It's like when you feel like just a number in a corporate job or a faceless voter in an election. This tension between life world and system leads to one of Habermas's biggest concerns, the erosion of democracy. He thinks democracy only works if we have what he calls the public sphere. Picture a bustling town square in the 18th century, where people gathered to debate ideas over coffee or newspapers. That's the public sphere, a space where citizens discuss issues rationally and hold power accountable. Habermas wrote about this in his earlier book, The Structural Transformation of the Public Sphere. He says that in the past, places like coffee houses fostered real debate, but today the public sphere is under threat. Media conglomerates, advertising, and polarized echo chambers, sound like social media, right, can distort the open dialogue we need for a healthy democracy. Let's make this concrete. Think about how we discuss big issues today, like healthcare or immigration. Often, it's less about understanding each other and more about winning the argument or going viral. Habermas would say we're missing the ideal speech situation, a kind of perfect conversation where everyone has equal say, no one's coerced, and the best argument wins. It's not some utopian dream, it's a benchmark to aim for. When we fall short, say when a politician dodges questions or a troll derails a discussion, we weaken the public sphere and, by extension, democracy itself. Now, Habermas isn't just a dreamer, he's practical too. His ideas have influenced real-world systems, like the European Union's push for transparent governance or movements for participatory democracy. He's also inspired fields like sociology, political science, and even media studies. But he's not without critics. Some say his ideal speech situation is unrealistic. People are too emotional or biased to talk so rationally. Others argue he underestimates how power, like wealth or privilege, always creeps into conversations. Fair points, but Habermas would probably say that aiming for the ideal, even if we never fully get there, is what pushes society forward. Let's talk about his life a bit more because it's fascinating how his experiences shaped his ideas. Growing up in post-war Germany, Habermas saw firsthand how propaganda and authoritarianism could poison communication. As a young scholar, he studied under thinkers like Theodor Adorno, a Frankfurt School giant, but he carved his own path. Unlike some of his gloomier colleagues, who saw modern society as a hopeless mess, Habermas is more optimistic. He believes we can rebuild the public sphere through better institutions, better media, and, frankly, better conversations. One story from his life stands out. In the 1950s, Habermas got into a public spat with another philosopher, Martin Heidegger, who had ties to the Nazi Party. Habermas was fearless, calling out Heidegger's failure to fully reckon with his past. This wasn't just academic drama, it showed Habermas's commitment to confronting power and demanding accountability, a theme that runs through all his work. He's been a public intellectual ever since, weighing in on everything from German reunification to global justice. So why should you care about Habermas today? His ideas are like a toolkit for navigating our messy world. When you're scrolling through your feed or watching a heated news segment, think about communicative action. Are people trying to understand each other, or are they just performing? When you vote or join a protest, think about the public sphere. Are we creating spaces where everyone's voice can be heard, or are we letting algorithms and sound bites take over? Habermas challenges us to be active, thoughtful citizens, not just passive consumers. Before we wrap up, let's touch on one more of his ideas: discourse ethics. This is about how we decide what's morally right through dialogue. Instead of following rigid rules or dogmas, Habermas says we should figure out ethics together by talking and reasoning. It's a radical idea that morality isn't fixed, but emerges from our shared commitment to fairness and respect. Next time you're debating a tough issue, like free speech or climate policy, ask yourself, am I listening as much as I'm talking? Am I open to changing my mind? That's Habermas in action. As we close out this episode, I hope you're as intrigued by Jürgen Habermas as I am. His work reminds us that philosophy isn't just for ivory towers, it's about the conversations we have every day, the kind that shape our world. He's given us a vision of society where reason, empathy, and dialogue can triumph over division and power. So next time you're in a debate or even just chatting with a friend, channel a bit of Habermas. Listen, reason, and aim for understanding. It's harder than it sounds, but it's worth a shot. Thanks for joining me today. If you enjoyed this dive into Habermas, share it with a friend or jump into one of his books. The theory of communicative action is a beast, but the structural transformation of the public sphere is a great start. Until next time, keep questioning, keep talking, and keep exploring the ideas that make us human. See you soon.